So the last cooperative learning group we'll talk about is base groups. And the goal with using base groups is to provide relatively long-term stable membership to accomplish a large, complex task. In my own classes, when I use base groups, I tell students when I give the assignment that the assignment is a large, complex task. It's a task that's comparable to what they'll do as professionals, and it's a task that they either don't want to do as an individual, nor can they do it as an individual because of the size and the complexity of the issues. So what are some characteristics of base groups? First of all, they're usually small in terms of membership, anywhere from 3 to 5 members. Things to think about in group size is the objectives that you have, the number of groups that you want to manage, obviously class size. There's no one magic number. It really depends on, I would say, your objectives for the assignment and the size of your class are two primary considerations. Base groups usually last a semester. I do have some colleagues that use base groups in a series of courses where students actually work together in 2 semesters on projects. Base groups are usually heterogeneous. Group composition is a tough one that there's a lot of people talk about. What's the magic way to select group members? It really depends on the assignment and the objectives that you as the instructor have for your course. I've used heterogeneous groups where I pick the members because I want different expertise represented in some base groups. Occasionally I just randomly pick people and put them into base groups. For the one assignment I'll show you a little bit later is I have students pick their own group members. However, they have to write a cover letter to apply to work to one another, just like they have to write a cover letter to apply to for a job. They write those cover letters to work with one another. They have to talk about what they're going to commit to the project, what their goals are. They have to talk about how they can be in contact with one another, what their work schedule's like, their class schedule, and then they turn those in stapled together as a contract that they're going to work hard and play nice together. If they don't work hard and play nice together, I tell them I can potentially fire them from their own team and their academic repercussions if they get fired. I'll post that example of that assignment on our MOOC website because it's a big part of how I help form these base groups. Another characteristic of base groups is we as the instructors have to encourage them to meet periodically to work on the task and review things, but also we as the instructors have to meet periodically with them to check on their work, their review, and provide them feedback. I would caution you, if you're using base groups in your classes, is don't give the students the assignments and then just lose contact with them until the end of the semester. That is not a good model. Is that you really need to help scaffold them through the process. You really need to make sure that they're meeting periodically, and one way to do that is for you to meet periodically with them. In base groups, there's the expectation that they're sharing resources. This is where the positive interdependence comes in, whether they're references, whether it's data, whether it's parts of the project report that they're developing. Make sure that there is the exchange of that information. Make sure that there is a system for them to provide support for one another. So again, in these small groups, it's easier for people to be engaged, and make sure that when you're setting up your assignment that you're training students to work in the group. Make sure that you're telling them the ground rules, that you want these base groups to be supportive, helpful environments for them. So based on what we've talked about so far in cooperative learning, what we'd like you to do now is we're going to show you a series of pictures for different kind of classrooms. So as an instructor, you're going to work in a variety of different classrooms throughout your career. For those of you who are faculty or TAs already, you probably already have a wide range of teaching spaces you've worked on. But based on these next series of slides, I want you to think about what aspect of this classroom would support some type of cooperative learning, whether it's informal groups, students working together on base group activities in class, or formal group activities. Second of all is what aspects of this classroom would make cooperative learning challenging. I have some funny stories I could share with you if we had more time about one of my experiences with this. And last of all is how might you structure a cooperative learning activity in this space? Because as instructors, we oftentimes don't have a choice what room we work in, and so we have to make the best of the learning environment to meet our teaching and learning objectives, and sometimes those are challenging than others. So let's take a look at some spaces, and again, for these three questions, we'd like you to post your answers on the discussion forum. So this is Classroom A that we'd like you to address. So this is a large lecture hall, so to speak. It holds approximately 150 students. The tables are locked down. The chairs do roll around. The nice thing about this room is there's pop-up electrical outlets, so students can plug in their laptop computers. There are 3 screens in the front, so that the LCD projector on the ceiling, when it projects, it shows up across all 3 screens, so students see it. And there are 3 segments or 3 sections of the classroom. There's one far to the right, in front of the one white screen. There's one in the middle, and there's another section far to the left. And you can see from the front of the classroom, there's a computer monitor that the instructor can use, or if you'd rather use your laptop, you can plug it in. And then just to the left of the computer monitor, you can't see it real well, there's like an overhead projector that you can write on. No, you can't write on the projector. There's an overhead projector. You can do problems or draw, and that projector then projects on the LCD screen. So if there is interactive things that you want to do as the instructor or for students, you can actually have them draw. Another classroom environment. This classroom holds about 50 students. The chairs can move, the tables can move. There is an LCD projector that can be that can project either 2 ways. And there's a screen on one side of the wall. There's a screen at the front. There is not a computer in this room, but there's a podium that's wired where you can hook up your laptop into the LCD system there. So again, the 3 questions that I posed, please respond to those questions for both Classroom A and Classroom B. These are some of my favorite references for cooperative learning. I'll include a whole list of these references and more on our MOOC website, and I hope you check them out.